Hi, Jolly Friends. Welcome back to part 2 of this past Wednesday's Peeka. And we have Princess and I think it's called Moonstar's Dreams. What did you want to be when you grew up? I hope I'm saying it all right. But first, let's start off with baby Esther, my Peeka. And she's saying hi. So she has her hand up. You're not having your hand up because you're being sarcastic, are you, Esther? No, I'm saying hello. Hi, everybody. Okay, so she's saying hi. Oh, her crown is kind of big on her, but she wanted it this one. So she says she's a birthday party princess, and she didn't want me to tie the ribbons because they remind her more of a birthday party. She has these little pink and yellow balloons. This is a vintage, awesome little dress, and it fits her perfectly. It's I believe it's a newborn or a preemie baby dress, but it's very vintage. It's from 1982. It was my cousin's. She's still in her favorite rainbow striped booties. She loves these booties. They fit her perfectly. So yeah, she looks so pretty. She looks so cute and pretty. But so what were my dreams in life? Well, I got to start with 3 and then we'll do 2 and 1 at the end. So you may want to grab a drink, guys. You know, a cup of coffee, tea, water, maybe a glass of wine, you know. So yeah, so number 3, my third dream in life, I was like 6 years old and I hated school. Yeah, just like Esther says she doesn't like school. We're not going to use the word hate. We didn't like, she didn't like it. She doesn't like it. I didn't like it. But we're going to change that for Esther. But I wanted to be a school teacher, a kindergarten, first grade, second grade school teacher with smaller children. That was a big dream of mine. Number 4, I wanted to be a hairdresser, but somebody that didn't just do hair. I wanted to do cosmetic work, nails, skin, facials, hair, like all of it. Just be a cosmetic person. Now I'm glad I was not a hairdresser and cosmetic person. I like doing it on myself, but no, I don't like doing it on other people. Facials and hairdos and all that, nail polish, all that stuff. Yeah, on me, yes. So, but when I was younger, I did, want to do that for a while. Then I wanted to be a preschool teacher, and I was cross between that and being an actress. Then I wanted to be an office secretarial worker at 21. Then I wanted to, for money purposes only, go to bartending school and be a bartender. That didn't happen. So none of the things I mentioned happened. I did end up with something else that I did, and I'm not going to get into that right now in this video. That's like a whole other video some other time. But, my biggest one, now we're going to go to number 2 to 1. Number 2, when I was in 6th grade, I loved Faye Dunaway in the movie Mommy Dearest, but it led me to love Joan Crawford. Yeah, Joan Crawford was my idol as a kid. I don't like what she did to her adopted children's, nothing that was cruel. That I was certainly not into. I didn't like that. But what I did like about Joan Crawford was she was a strong woman. She said, no, I'm going to have children. Even if I can't, I'm going to adopt them. Parents do have a lot of fears and paranoias when they're raising children. I know that side of it. I do. But I didn't like her cruelty in that department with her children. But I felt she was a very strong woman, a talented woman, a beautiful woman. And I really wanted to be an actress. It was one of my biggest, hugest dreams, more than the other things I mentioned. And, like I mentioned, I had my grandparents, my granddad, and I loved my granddad. He did have a lot more positives than negatives, but he had his dark, negative side like everybody else does. And, I wanted him to, put me back into dancing school, because I did do dancing school when I was younger, from like 3 up until, 12, and then I stopped. But then at 12, I wanted to go back, and, and he didn't like that, because that's how my mother met my father. And, he like Joan Crawford, had that fear. Fear will hold the human soul backwards in life. Fear comes from a dark energy, not the light of God. Fear will hold the human soul backwards in life from things, goals, dreams, all kinds of things. And, he had his fear and paranoia, and then I also, that same school year, in 6th grade, insisted he put me in gymnastics. My friend Katie took gymnastics, and she took me and my other friend Lori there as a guest, and we went on the big square trampoline, the old school one, and spent the whole Saturday in her gymnastics center twirling and flipping on bars, and there was assistance. And I wanted to, do all that and be like an actress, a movie star. It didn't happen. It wasn't meant to happen. I was telling my bestie this Friday evening on the phone. I was messaging with her. I told her this, and I said, I know it just wasn't meant to happen, but it was a big, huge dream of mine. So having a YouTube channel fulfills not all of that childhood dream, not all of it, but it fulfills some of it, which is really nice and pretty cool for me. And you know what? I kind of have more fun, coming on with dolls and sharing my dolls, my biggest hobby, which I didn't start to age 21 as a young adult, but, I like what I'm doing now. God works in good, mysteriously powerful ways. God is good, guys. Sometimes he's got a better plan for us in life. It may not be what we wanted it exactly. It may not be exactly when we wanted it. But, he does work in good ways. So, yeah, my YouTube channel fulfills some of that dream, which some means a lot to me. So that's a great thing. My number one thing was, when I was a little kid, I always had to play house with my friends, but I had to be the cook and the mommy and, the adult when we were playing house when we were all little. And yeah, I did want to be a homemaker and housewife and stay-at-home mommy and all that. I did. I did it for a little while with my kids, for a little bit, not as long as I would have liked. I didn't get to enjoy a lot that I wish I could have enjoyed a little bit more with my real children. I enjoyed every moment of their growing up and every phase and stage of every age they went through, even the terrible teenage years too. It wasn't all terrible, but you get it, guys. And, it just, I was just kind of a rebellious younger person. I was more stubborn back then. And anyone that told me I couldn't do it, I kind of remembered my idol, Joan Crawford, and had that, I don't want to say it, and I can't say it in full, and I'm trying to say it like a lady, but I had that F you attitude when I was younger, Oh, you can't tell me I can't do such and such, because I'll go do it and I'll succeed. And a lot of times, yeah, I went and did it and succeed with stuff. But, when it came about being an actress when I was younger, I think I was just hurt that, my grandfather went totally insane emotionally when I told him I wanted to be like Joan Crawford, be a movie star, go to acting school, take drama lessons in high school. I just remember he was yelling and not happy about it. He thought, that's what, women don't do. And he didn't know any better kind of thing. He was very old fashioned, from a time when women had no careers. They just stayed home only. And that was it, and never expressed none of their talents with nothing. And I disagreed with that, back in the 80s when I was 12. And I was just crushed, and I was hurt. I remember he just babbled on, and I was hurt. I went in my room, I cried, and I could have pursued him and said, no, you're going to help me do this. And he probably would have. But I think a piece of me was so hurt, I just kind of gave up, and then life happened, and I didn't make drama school. I ended up, having my first son and getting married instead. And, but you know what? Again, God works in mysterious, powerful, good ways. God has his own plan. I may not have real babies right now. Yeah, I'm 53 years old. My kids are like really grown up. They're grown. My youngest is almost 31 years old. My youngest. I mean, I was a very young mommy, but still. But I have my dolls. I'm a reborn mommy. I'm not just a doll collector. I'm also a reborn mommy. I am. So, it may not have been the way I wanted it, when I wanted it, in my 20s. But, it's interesting. I kind of have some of those two big dreams a little bit now, if you think about what I'm saying. And that's the big positive catch here, which I'm pretty good with. I'm good. So yeah, so that's my story, and that's my whole thing. And yeah, so Esther and I, now Esther thinks maybe she wants to be this for Halloween, but Esther, you have to decide real quickly, because we are going to be going to our 2 Halloween parties this weekend for sure. Well, I hope we're not going to be any later than that, Mommy. No, Esther, we're not. I promise. Okay. I can't break my promise to you, Esther, and I won't. I believe you, Mommy. Well, guys, that's a wrap. We will be back on tomorrow. We have we have 2 very special box openings that we are going to do tomorrow on Saturday, this Saturday. And yeah, so we look forward to seeing you guys then. And have a blessed night. Again, guys, I will catch up with all the videos of today late tonight, or definitely very early in the morning. I will be doing that. And I'm sorry I fell behind for just today, but I'll catch up in no time with that, with everybody else's vids. All right, guys. Love you a lot. God bless you all. Bye-bye.